Hello and welcome to Yoga Basics. I'm Patty and I'll be your instructor today. Today we're going to work on the most important part of everything, your breath. So one of the best ways to start breath work is to start with an intention. You can sit on the floor like I'm sitting on some blankets, or you can sit on a chair. So I have brought the blankets up high enough so that my feet, which are underneath my knees, my hips have raised up so that my hips are a little bit above my feet, trying to get my thigh bones parallel. If you can get your femur bones parallel to the floor, you have a much better shot at getting the spine straight. So if you do choose to sit on the floor, sit on something that's high enough until you get these femur bones parallel. And that gives some freedom in the pelvis. Now, your pelvis is a bowl-like structure. In fact, pelvis even means basin in Latin. It's got two big high scoops on this side, a low forward pelvic bone, and a triangle-shaped bone in the very middle of your low back. This is the anchor of your spine. So to get these four bones arranged properly, it helps if you lift your seat up just a little. Now, not everybody has the right amount of flexion in your hips or in your knees or even in your ankles to sit comfortably on the floor for a length of time. So that's when you would want to sit in a chair. If you are going to use a chair, use a nice, firm, straight-backed, flat-seated chair and sit way forward to the edge of it. Placing your feet flat down on the floor, this will enable you to extend your spine. So the thigh bones will be parallel to the floor in a chair, or if you can raise yourself up high enough on some really firm blankets and you've got the flexibility, your thigh bones can be parallel on the floor. Once these thigh bones are parallel, it usually indicates, as I said, some freedom through the bowl of your pelvis. This freedom enables you to push down with your hips and lift with the crown of your head, right up here about where my bun is. So as you press down with your hips and lift with the crown of your head, you're going to be able to lengthen the spine along its three major curves. As the hips press down, you're going to get a little bit more length in the low back. As you lift with the crown of the head, you're going to be able to lengthen up through the mid-back and even up through your neck. Now bring your chin parallel to the floor so that your mandible or jawbone isn't lifting and isn't lowering. With the chin parallel to the floor, this enables you to continue the extension of the spine all the way up through the cervical spine in your neck. Also, if your chin's up too high or down too low, you end up constricting the airways. And since this particular part is all about the breath, we really want those airways to be open, the airway to be open. So you're pressing down with your hips and you're lifting with the crown of your head. Then you want to think about bringing your shoulders away from each other. Then there's a little more subtle direction. The sternum, this bony chest protection, is going to subtly rise towards your throat, not the other way around. If the throat is going towards the sternum, you end up like this. So instead we take this sternum, gently rise it towards the throat, and then you let your scapulas or your shoulder blades gently lower down towards your back waist. So the front of the body has kind of a lifting experience and the back of the body has a gentle lowering experience. And this is happening simultaneously. So again, you're pressing down with your hips, getting a little bit of length through the lumbar spine. You're lifting with the crown of your head, continuing that length through the mid-back, and you're keeping your jaw parallel to the floor, just like the thigh bones, so that you can continue that lift through your cervical spine. Keeping the spine lengthened along its curves is the most important part. Then, of course, we want to lift the chest, sternum to throat, scapulas to back waist, so we're lowering the back, shoulders are spreading. This enables us to access the musculature of respiration, the muscles that we use to breathe. So let me tell you a little bit about your breath. Around the rib cage and below the rib cage, you have different muscles, and they kind of weave themselves together in sort of a basket-like work. It gives you hypermobility through the torso. With these muscles, you want to be able to expand the rib cage as you inhale, and then you want to contract the rib cage as you exhale. Now we're going to begin today with some diaphragmatic breathing. We call this belly breathing, a little bit of a misnomer because you don't really breathe with your belly. You're just changing the aspect of the diaphragm, a big trans-body muscle, as you're breathing. So it sort of feels like you're filling your belly as you inhale and use this diaphragmatic breathing. If you'd like, you can place your hands on your low belly to try to find the action. So many of us find that we're reverse breathers. Instead of filling the belly on the diaphragm, a lot of us pull it in and then we release the belly on the exhale. So that's a reverse breather, and we want to try to correct that. Those of us that have been reverse breathers for a long time, it takes a lot of practice to get the feel of this diaphragmatic breathing. Those of you that are probably musicians or singers or actors, you may have been doing diaphragmatic breathing for a long time, which is great. So with diaphragmatic breathing, we're going to seemingly fill the belly on the inhale, and then we're literally going to draw the belly back to facilitate the thoroughness of the exhale. So let's try that again. Seemingly fill the belly as you inhale, and then literally draw the belly back to your spine as you exhale. Once more, seemingly fill, and then literally pull the belly back. Now what's happening as we breathe is that the musculature of respiration is not only wanting to expand the rib cage, but the ribs are attached to the spine. So as we inhale, expanding the rib cage, the spine is getting a little bit more length to it. As we exhale, contracting through the rib cage, we're gently pressing the spine back towards itself. Now this is designed perfectly because the spine, the spinal column within its bones, does not have blood vessels. It is bathed in a cerebral spinal fluid. So as we inhale and expand the rib cage and get that little extra lift in the spine, we're soaking up cerebral spinal fluid into the discs in between each bone of the back. Then as we exhale and contract the rib cage back down again, we're gently bringing the spine back closer to itself, the bones of the back squeezing out the fluid. So our breath in is like a soaking in of cerebral spinal fluid, and our breath out is a gentle squeezing back out of that cerebral spinal fluid, staying within the confines of your spinal cord. So as we do this diaphragmatic breathing, you're not only going to fill the belly on the inhale, but you're going to allow, as the ribs expand, your spine to lift just a little bit more, trying to maintain that lift as we exhale and contract the ribs back down together. Now, the inhale part of the breath is a gift. It's given to us when we make space for it, and the air rushes in from outside into the body to fill that space. Then the exhale is a gift that we give back when we're done using it. As we squeeze the rib cage back together and we pull the belly back to the spine, you're releasing the breath back out. So as we make space and the inhale comes in to fill that space, oxygen, when it gets into the lungs, is extrapolated out of that air into these little alveoli sacs that line the inside of the lungs. And then carbon dioxide, which is a metabolic waste that's been collected by the bloodstream, is waiting in the lungs. So we make space by expanding the rib cage. The air rushes from the outside into the body. When the air comes into the body, that gaseous exchange is made. The oxygen is extrapolated out of the air, put into our bloodstream, and the carbon dioxide that was waiting in the lungs is put into the air that leaves the body on the water vapor of our breath. So as we make space for this inhale and we expand the rib cage and we allow the belly to seemingly fill, you want to bring this air in through your nose. The nose has hair and mucus that begins to clean the air. You have multi-chambered sinuses up here in the face that regulate the temperature of the air, so that by the time the air gets into the sterile environment of your lungs, it's cleaned of larger particles and the temperature is appropriate for the inside of your body. So you inhale in through the nose. Now exhaling, you can exhale back out the nose. It's a very good practice. It helps to calm a lot of times your central nervous system. But sometimes you're working really hard or your mind is racing quite a bit, and you feel the urge to exhale out of your mouth. This is appropriate as well. So let's review. You want to press down with your hips, lengthening at the low back. Lift with the crown of your head, lengthening through the mid-back. Let your jaw be parallel to the floor so you can get a little bit more length through the neck, and also this opens up the airway in the throat. Once you have your spine extended, make sure that your arms and legs are comfortable. We don't need the arms and legs for breathing, so we just want them to rest. The spine is extending, and we have access as the sternum rises towards your throat and the scapula is lowered towards your back waist. We have access to the musculature of respiration so that we can get a bigger, better breath. So we've practiced the filling of the belly, or the seeming filling of the belly, as we inhale. Now, as you do this diaphragmatic breath in, allow that breath to rise up the 3 major curves of your back, and then allow the breath to slide back down those same 3 curves, drawing your belly back to your spine. So you inhale, allowing the belly to seemingly fill. Let the breath rise up. Don't be satisfied at the top of your inhale. Keep inhaling until you can't take any more breath in, but don't strain. Just inhale to the fullest extent of your ability. Once you get all the inhale in without strain, allow the exhale to slide back down. You're going to draw your belly back to the spine as you contract through the rib cage, pressing the breath back out. Now, don't be satisfied at the bottom of the exhale either. Keep pushing until you literally can't exhale anymore. So let's try this. You inhale, seemingly fill the belly, allow the breath to lift up. Keep inhaling until you can't get any more breath in, and then allow the breath to slide back down. Keep exhaling, pulling the belly back to the spine, contracting through the rib cage. Again, seemingly fill the belly on the inhale, allowing the breath to rise as the rib cage expands. You might even feel the expansion not only at the sternum and the side ribs, but you might even feel the collarbone start to expand. Taking the fullest breath in that you can, and then gently allow the exhale to slide back down, drawing the belly back to the spine as you're compressing through the rib cage. So, as you're inhaling, go ahead and start to count the beats it takes for you to take a full inhale in, and whatever beat count works for you. That's your first inhale. Then on the exhale, count the beats it takes for you to get that full exhale out. So you get a ratio of a count for your inhale compared to the count for the exhale. Now, this is called pranayama in yoga, the yoga of the breath. And this particular type of pranayama that we're going to do right now is called Vrtti. It's where the inhale count and the exhale count are the same. So you can use a metronome. It's a little clock timer. You could use a regular clock, or you could just count the beats in your own head, trying to make your beat count stable so you get a good idea of your breath pattern. So once you get the count of your first inhale, compare it to the count of your first exhale, you'll know where your work is. Initially, usually in the beginning of breath work, your inhales are a little bit shorter. Maybe they're 2, 3, or 4 counts long. And your exhales a lot of times are even shorter than that. So you want to focus on making the exhale count as long as the inhale count. Now for this work here, every time you inhale, count how many beats it takes for you to get your full inhale in, and then make that your count and make the exhale last as long as the inhale did. So every time your inhale count changes, and it will probably get longer as we go along, let your exhale count change, making it just as long. Now each breath actually has 4 parts. There's the inhale part, there's a pause or a turn at the top part, there's the exhale part, and there's a pause or a turn at the bottom part. Well, for this practice of Vrtti Pranayama, we're not going to worry too much about the pause at the top in the retention of the breath, or the pause at the bottom, the suspension of the breath. We're going to just turn those parts so that you can get a feel for how the musculature of respiration works. you're going to find that as you inhale, you're going to try to hold it or grip it at the top. So don't do this. Practice continuing to inhale and inhale and inhale, and then softly allow the exhale to begin. What you'll find in the beginning sometimes is when you inhale, you'll grip and hold it, and then the exhale is like a drop or a release. So we're trying to smooth out that particular process. Now, my breath count's pretty long. I've been practicing yoga for a very long time. So your breath count will be wherever it is for you. And the more you practice pranayama, or the yoga of the breath, the better your breath gets, the longer and fuller your breath gets, and the deeper into the body. And the more we can expand the rib cage and fill the lungs, the more we can contract the rib cage and empty the lungs, the more we can bring the breath, which is our power, into the body. So let's go ahead and try this. Exhale fully. And then slowly begin to inhale, filling your belly, allowing your spine to rise. Keep inhaling until you get all the way up. Your torso is as full as it can go. And then begin to exhale and allow the exhale to keep going, pulling the belly back to the spine until you've got all the air out. And again, inhale. Exhale. And once more, inhale. And exhale. And then pause for just a moment and feel how the breath feels. So when you're working a breath practice of your own at home, you can find your comfortable seat, whether it's on the floor or in a chair. After you've found your comfortable seat, making sure your arms and legs are comfortable, find your straight, full, extended spine. Then remember that right now we're doing diaphragmatic breathing, which is where we seemingly fill the belly. There's lots of other breath work in yoga, depending on what posture you're doing. But since our posture is an easy seated posture, a comfortable sitting pose, we're just going to work on this belly breath. The 4 parts of the breath, the inhale part, the pause at the top, and the exhale part with the pause at the bottom, are beautifully designed to positively affect all the systems in your body, particularly your mental system. So you might find after doing some deep breathing that you're just a little bit dizzy. If this is the case, pause and let yourself find your equilibrium again before continuing on. So in the beginning, you want your inhale count to be as long as it can be and your exhale count to match it. That's Sama Vrtti Pranayama. And every time the inhale count changes, gets most likely a little bit longer, but maybe a little shorter, your exhale count will change. When you're ready for another step in pranayama, you want to find your longest but yet still very gentle inhale count, and you want to make that your count for the whole entire practice, rather than letting the inhale change each time. So once you find, through a few practice inhales, once you find a long, full inhale count that's still gentle, make that your count and make the exhale match it. So you'll inhale, let's say the count is going to be a count of 6. So exhale fully, and then inhale. And then exhale. And again. And then exhale. Once more. And exhale. And then pause. Allow yourself to regain your equilibrium. And you'll notice that sometimes you start really fast and you've inhaled too quick before your count is up, or you're exhaling really slow and you've got a lot more exhale before you make that count. So you can either allow the count to change with the inhale and exhale matching, or you can try to match that number, inhale count and exhale count each time, which means you might have to slow the breath down or you might have to speed it up so that you can match that count. Eventually, you're trying to get to where the entire length of the inhale is very uniform. It starts, it's in the middle, and it finishes at all about the same pace. And then the same with the exhale, so that you begin the exhale, you're in the exhale, and you finish the exhale all at about the same pacing. This is how you'll train the musculature of respiration to work better for you. So that was diaphragmatic breathing, Vrtti Pranayama. There's also Longana Pranayama. This is where the exhale count is just a little bit longer than the inhale count. So if you'd like to try that, you can continue to inhale and inhale and inhale until you get your count. Let's say it's a 6. And then you're going to begin the exhale and you're going to keep exhaling. But in Longana Pranayama, you're going to make the exhale count 1 to 2 beats longer. So let's try that, and let's drop the inhale to a 5 and put the exhale at a 7. So find the breath you're on, finish it with a full exhale, and then inhale count on 5, exhale 7, again inhale 5, exhale 7, once more, inhale 5, exhale 7, and then sit quietly. Just feel. And notice sometimes when you tune in and look at your breath, if you are holding your breath or if your breath is very shallow and high. So randomly throughout your day, tune into your breath and see what it's doing. And once you've tuned into the breath, don't make any judgment calls about your breath. Don't wonder why it's one way or wish it was another. Just accept where your breath is in that moment. And also notice that when you place your attention on your breath, it begins to deepen and lengthen, and this is good. And you'll notice after 3 rounds of pranayama, the yoga of the breath, or after 15 rounds of pranayama, the yoga of the breath, your breath is naturally going to be deeper and longer. So we have a tendency to breathe like this by bringing the shoulders up, but this is counterproductive. Because when we take the shoulders and lift them up, we're squeezing through the upper rib cage and we can't expand the ribs all the way. So make sure that the shoulders are lowering. You can do this throughout the day as well. Keep the shoulders down and let your chest inhale like a barrel so that you can feel the side ribs expanding and the sternum lifting. As I said, you can maybe even feel your collarbones moving. And then the exhale uses those same muscles that expanded the rib cage and extended the spine to contract through the rib cage and gently bring the spine back down. So you tune into your breath throughout the day, notice what it's doing, and then try to lengthen the breath. If you're breathing high and tight, you can panic. In fact, if you want to panic, breathe high and tight. It's going to happen. If you want to calm down, drop your breath lower into your body, right down here into your core, your center of gravity. Bringing the breath to an origin point, if you will, down here in the center of gravity, makes you more stable. If your breath is way up here, you're going to be easily swayed. So drop the breath down, practice some diaphragmatic breathing, filling the whole torso on the inhale, and then squeezing through the whole torso on the exhale. Make sure you are sitting down for the practice of pranayama, as it does get you just a little bit lightheaded because of that extra oxygen in the body. And also remember, so goes your breath, so go your thoughts. So if your thoughts are scattered and running around, your breath is probably high and tight. If you want to lengthen and deepen your thoughts, lengthen and deepen your breath. So that was the practice of pranayama for today, the yoga of the breath. Remember, we did sama Vrtti, where the inhale count and the exhale count match. And then we did just a little bit of Langana pranayama, where the exhale is just a little bit longer than the inhale. So I'm going to go ahead and leave you with a blessing. Drawing your hands to your heart if you'd like to in the namaste or prayer position. Let your heart lift and let your head bow. And take just this moment to honor the truth, the light, and the wisdom existing within every cell of your body. May you be peaceful. May you experience poise, equanimity, and abundance. May you be well. Namaste.